Here's my review of the new buildable LEGO Star Wars R2-D2 set. A neat build of such an iconic character of the franchise the LEGO group clearly loves so much, reason being the fact that there's actually two very similar products currently for sale, which I personally find very weird from a business perspective. Why would people buy this one when there's a similar one right next to it that is twice as cheap, right? The major difference in my eyes is the box art, which highlights the new model in a much nicer way when compared to the older version, with the all-black style commonly seen in 18+ products, whereas this one is actually age-marked 10+. There's all these banners as well, seen in every other Star Wars set released this year so far to celebrate the 25th anniversary of LEGO Star Wars, which is also celebrated with the inclusion in this particular set of a character I've personally never heard about, the Sith Lord Darth Malak. I'm sure there's people really happy about getting this character, but maybe not so much by having to buy a completely unrelated set. The new 10TV Always Seen set also has an exclusive minifigure included, ARC Trooper 5s, which again is completely unrelated to that particular scene. Both minifigures have this printed anniversary display stand that comes with an extra plate for you to collect and display them all together. I could have personally lived without this figure in favor of a slightly cheaper model or printed pieces instead of stickers, but maybe that's just me. Darth Malak isn't the only minifigure included though, and R2-D2 is also present, previously seen before in 4 other sets, which doesn't make it all that special, unless of course you're into misprints, as mine has a few details completely off-centered here. Info Black is also included, but printed this time around if you compare it with the stickered version of the 18+ droid. And as for the droid itself, I'd say it looks spot on. Comparing it to the bigger version, I'm actually quite surprised to see that there isn't any lack of significant details, and in many ways I actually prefer the new and smaller version. For starters, I think the roundness of the head dome was achieved in a much nicer way, topped off by a printed-ish element with some patterns, whereas the big one is quite blocky. The fact that it's bigger tends to make it wobble too much and spin freely, even getting out of place very easily, whereas the smaller one is sturdier and has a nice snappiness to it. The overall body proportions feel okay, it is fairly detailed both with stickers but also brick-built elements, and I like the minifigure whip elements for hoses on the feet. R2-D2 tools are also included and can be placed by removing 2 tiles on the sides of the front panel. The periscope is simply attached onto the head, and the same goes with the third leg that is just attached to the bottom, while the other 2 legs with the loose feet tilt back and stay in place. The bigger model has all of that built into the model and much more, which could be seen as an improvement, but the function for the third leg feels unreliable, the old model is very unstable, and the fact that all of the functions are built into the droid made for an extremely complex build with very hard to decode building instructions that made me make a bunch of building mistakes, forcing complete rebuilds so that the functions weren't jamming. I think you can tell how much I hated this build. On the other hand, this droid had a very nice build flow to it, very enjoyable to put together with some nice studs not on top techniques, and displays just as nicely, if not better, due to the somewhat smaller size, which is part of the reason I love the midi-scale ships so much when compared to UCS sets, but that's a topic for another video. With all of that said, we gotta talk about prices, and this droid hits that $100 sweet spot that for a model with little over 1,000 pieces, the Star Wars and Disney taxes on top, plus 2 minifigures feels to me a very decent deal. The older model at little over 2,300 pieces and a price of $240, while not terribly priced for what you get, begs the question: who would ever buy it when there's a cheaper model that looks exactly the same, right? I'd pick the new R2 any day of the week, and I honestly don't think you're missing out on anything the bigger one has to offer. For functions you'll play with once or twice if nothing goes wrong with the build, I think you'd be better off by saving $140. Do let me know if I'm being crazy, and I'll see you all on the next one.